Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. I am so psyched to be here right now. I'm using my other microphone, so I have my hands free, and I didn't feel like putting in headphones, so hopefully the audio quality is all good on this. We are coming off an awesome weekend in the world of combat sports. I watched 2 UFC cards, 2 Bellator cards, and most of all, the incredible Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury heavyweight title fight. One of the best boxing matches I've ever seen in my life. I'm a huge Tyson Fury fan. I love his style. I don't know how he got up in that 12th round. If you didn't watch it, you missed out. Go back and watch it. Find it online. But for now, we are going to get right into UFC 231 picks. And as always, I'm going to kind of be doing picks plus letting you know which fights I am interested in because I skip over fights I'm not as interested in. And I'm also going to be giving you odds after I make my pick. So these are picks, not gamblers' picks. I check the odds afterwards. These aren't intended for gambling. This is just entertainment purposes only. If I was trying to make a gambling advice, I would look at the odds and then make my picks based off of that, obviously. Because if you're gambling, you're not betting on the fighter, you're betting the number. But I'm not much of a gambler. I just love fights. So we're going to jump right into this thing. UFC 231 coming at you from Toronto, Canada this Saturday. We get kicked off on UFC Fight Pass at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to skip over the Fight Pass portion. I am interested in the Brad Katona-Matthew Lopez fight. I'd probably take Matthew Lopez there if I had to make a pick. But other than that, not a whole lot going on there. I do like watching Devin Clark fight, but I don't know his opponent. So let's jump right in to the Fox Sports 1 prelims at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Start kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Olivier Aubin-Mercier, OAM, taking on Gilbert Burns. So where are these guys at right now? They are both coming off of losses. OAM fought Alexander Hernandez and lost a frustrating, tough decision that he definitely lost. I'm not saying it was frustrating in the sense that it was a robbery. I'm saying it was frustrating in the sense that he just had trouble getting his offense and his game going. And Gilbert Burns got stopped badly by Dan Hooker in the first round. So what do I think about this fight? So let's see. OAM had his first TKO finish recently. So here's my thought. I don't think either one of these guys are subbing each other. They're both great grapplers, and I think it's going to cancel out, and this fight's going to take place on the feet. With that being said, OAM did have his first TKO finish recently over, what is his name? He just retired. Oh man, I feel terrible that Evan Dunham. He TKO'd Evan Dunham with a big knee to the body, but then we saw Evan Dunham get TKO'd by a knee to the body in his next fight, and Evan Dunham himself said, I just can't take shots to the body like I used to be able to. So I don't think that means that OAM can finish Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns doesn't have a great chin, but OAM doesn't have a lot of power in his punches. He doesn't throw a lot of high kicks. I don't think he's going to touch that chin too much, and Gilbert Burns does have big power, but OAM seems to have a really solid chin, so I think this one will go to a decision, and I'm taking Olivier Aubin-Mercier, OAM, to win by unanimous decision. That's my pick. All right, let's look at the odds for that one real quick before we move on. Let's pull them up. OAM is the favorite at minus 145, and not a whole lot of odds released yet. And then Gilbert Burns is the favorite as high as plus 111. All right, and you can get OAM as low as minus 139. At some point, I might just start only giving the odds from one website, but for now, I'll keep scoping the whole field when I give odds. All right, on to the next one. After that, I believe, is Eric Anders taking on Elias Theodorou. So I'm going to give you my pick for this one. I'm picking Eric Anders to win by first-round KO. You might ask yourself, why on earth would you make that pick? That sounds like a terrible pick. Eric Anders has looked like he has a lot of developing to do, and Elias Theodorou is really good at frustrating people, and I don't think he's ever been knocked out. Yeah, I know, it's not a great pick, but you know what it is? It's a wish pick. I don't like Elias Theodorou. He's a crybaby Canadian. He's super sensitive on social media. He tweeted back at Eric Anders one of the most ridiculous things I've ever said. Eric Anders called him a B word, which is something that everyone uses in fighting when they're talking, and Elias Theodorou responded with a paragraph about how he doesn't need to disrespect women to make himself look tougher, which is hilarious because women use that word too in the combat sports world when they're talking about not being a wimp, saying don't be a bee, so the whole thing is just, so he's on up on his soapbox. He's always going on and on about his silly shampoo sponsorships and his way being a ring boy for the women's promotion, which would be, I guess, it would be cool if he at least actually did it right. If I was going to be a ring boy, I'd wear a Speedo, but he wears a shirt and pants. So it's just dumb. It's just him walking around holding a sign fully clothed. It's completely silly. I think he's super annoying on social media. I hope Eric Anders knocks him out in the first round. That being said, that probably won't happen, but that's my pick. I do not pick Elias Theodorou in fights ever because I don't like him. So the odds on Eric Anders, he's actually the favorite, which I would not put him as the favorite as making the odds on this fight. You can get him as low as minus 169. And then you can get Elias Theodorou as high as plus 141. All right, sipping on a little cold brew. Let's move on to the next fight. Katlyn Chookagian, a.k.a. the fighter who would be amazing if they used a jab but doesn't use a jab, taking on Jessica Eye, who's a total head case, and does definitely run into some problems with that in her fights. I like both these women. They both frustrate the crap out of me when I watch them fight. But that being said, I wouldn't do any better. So, it's a lot easier said than done. Obviously, I would like to think. I've definitely put in enough rounds that I do know how to put a jab out there, so not really sure why Katlyn Chookagian, with some of the best coaches in the world, can't keep a jab out there, but hey, who knows? Some people have shoulder problems, maybe your shoulder gets tired, I don't know, but they both frustrate me, so therefore I'm not going to make a pick in this fight because they're both likely and liable to do the opposite of what they should do, so I'm not going to make a pick. The fight after that is another women's fight that I'm super excited about. Dropping down, and by the way, let's go back. OAM Gilbert Burns, 155-pound lightweight contest. Eric Anders versus Elias Theodorou, 185-pound middleweight contest. Katlyn Chookagian versus Jessica Eye. That is a 125-pound women's flyweight fight. And then Nina Ansaroff versus Claudia Gadelha is strawweight. And I don't say women's strawweight because there is no men's strawweight, so it's simply called strawweight. So, Nina Ansaroff versus Claudia Gadelha. If I had to guess, I would guess that Claudia is the favorite, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am picking Nina Ansaroff, and here's why. Claudia Gadelha has had a lot of problems in her past fights. She got beat down by Jessica Andrade in a fight where she looked instantly tired. I thought she lost to Carla Esparza. She got pieced up by Carla Esparza, gassed out badly. I think that Nina Ansaroff is really coming into her own. She has great coaching. She's one of the only women in that division that can probably compete physically, as far as physical attributes, with Claudia Gadelha. Nina Ansaroff is very big, thick legs, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. She's got a great build for a Muay Thai style. I don't know if I'd necessarily call her a Muay Thai stylist, but she definitely likes to throw the leg kicks. I think that she can beat Claudia Gadelha. I do, and I'm going to pick her. I'm going to pick her to win a decision, a unanimous decision. I actually think she can do it. I think at most she might have a little bit of trouble in the first round, but I actually expect this to be a surprisingly, not easy, but a surprisingly winnable fight for Nina Ansaroff. So let's see what the odds are on that. And that's a strawweight fight, as I said. Nina Ansaroff. Nina Ansaroff is a big underdog, as high as plus 257, and Claudia Gadelha is a big favorite, as low as minus 278. So I think that is an excellent underdog pick. I could be totally wrong, but that's the read that I have on this fight. And a lot of times when I get reads on a fight like that, a lot of times I'm right. So we'll see how it goes. I'm super into that fight, though. So now we're moving on to the main card, which it's on pay-per-view, and they will rip that money right out of your wallet. I think they've jacked it up now to like $69 or something crazy. It was like $50 not that long ago, and now it's after taxes, it's $70 for pay-per-view. It's nuts. That boxing match last night was $75 plus taxes, which is insane. I literally thought, last night watching that boxing match, you could probably save money if you flew to England and got it for 20 pounds. I feel like the flight and the pay-per-view would still be less than the pay-per-view in America, but Jesus Christ, whatever. I guess they just hate getting people to view it, and they just love encouraging people to stream it illegally online, but that's their business model, not mine. Next up, we got, starting off the main card on pay-per-view, we've got Kyle Bochniak taking on Hakeem Dawodu. So, in my opinion, the smart money would be on Hakeem, but Kyle Bochniak holds a special place in my heart, and more importantly, in my wife Caitlin's heart. Kyle won us over when he fought Zabit. So we are a big Kyle Bochniak fan base in this household, and we ride with the people that we are fans of. So we are riding and dying with Kyle Bochniak, and I am taking him to win this fight. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a close fight, but I think he can take a split decision. I think he can. Once again, I always am going to let you know, just like with that Eric Anders pick. I'm going to let you know when I'm picking a fight based somewhat on favoritism and people or lack of favoritism in the case of picking over Elias Theodorou. But I'm taking Kyle in this fight. It's not super likely. He could definitely lose, but I'm taking him to win a split decision. I think he's tough as nails, and I like the improvements I've seen. And just one more thing on this fight. I'm spending way too much time on this fight, but it is Kyle, and I'm a big fan of Kyle. Kyle showed something that's very unique in MMA, and not just MMA, in all combat sports. And it's something that I have seen Max Holloway do, in particular when he fought Jose Aldo in circling one way, and then fought him the second time circling the other way. But Kyle Bochniak fought a completely different fight. If you had that disorder where you can't recognize faces, and, I guess he has tattoos. That's not a good example. You get what I'm saying. If you didn't know that was Kyle, you would never know, based on watching Kyle fight Brandon Davis and then watching Kyle fight Zabit, you would never think that that's the same person, other than the fact that you can see it's the same person, same name, same face, same tattoos. But if you didn't have those ways to recognize them, if every human just looked the same, you would never know that was the same person fighting. He fought a completely different style in 2 fights that he had back-to-back, and that's extremely rare and very difficult to do. So that's part of why I'm making this pick too. It's not all just love for Kyle. But with that being said, let me pull up the odds while I sip on some of this cold brew. All right, my man Kyle is a pretty heavy underdog. You can get him as high as plus 172, and Mean Hakeem is as the lowest you can get him is minus 208. So Kyle's a big underdog, probably for good reason, but I'm riding with Kyle. Next up on this fight card, we've got Gunnar Nelson versus Cowboy. Unfortunately, not that Cowboy. I know what you were thinking. You were thinking, man, I didn't know Donald Cerrone was fighting this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm talking about the Brazilian Cowboy, but we do love him too. So, Gunnar Nelson taking on the Brazilian Cowboy, Alex Oliveira. And that Kyle Bochniak Hakeem fight's going down at featherweight. And this Gunnar Nelson Alex Oliveira fight is going down at welterweight, 170 pounds. Featherweight being 145 pounds. So Gunnar Nelson taking on Alex Oliveira. What can we say about this? So where's Gunnar Nelson been at? Well, Santiago Ponzinibbio poked him in the eye 100 times in less than 30 seconds and blinded him for about a year of his life. So he's been out of action. And Alex Oliveira, I don't remember what I think his last fight was that crazy war against, he knocked out Carlo Pedersoli Jr. I remember that. On that Santos versus Anders fight card, which, by the way, Anders is coming back way too soon, in my opinion, after almost dying of exhaustion. So that's another reason why that's a dumb pick on my part. And Oliveira submitted. Okay, so it's been a while since that loss to Yancy Medeiros. He's had 2 wins. Yancy Medeiros. He's had 2 wins since then. Okay, and then obviously Gunnar Nelson. I just said where he's coming from. So what is there to say about this fight? So Alex Oliveira is very wild, and Gunnar Nelson can be open because he has that hands-down striking style without really any thought of defense or head movement. He kind of just is there to be hit and relies on getting in and out in big motions. But I feel like Cowboy Oliveira, his style is so wild that he ends up in the clinch and he ends up on the ground. And yes, he is very strong, but what I'm thinking of, I am remembering Cowboy versus Cowboy, where Donald Cerrone submitted Cowboy Oliveira in the first round pretty easily. Gunnar Nelson is incredible at jiu-jitsu. With that being said, I'm actually going to take Gunnar Nelson to win this by a first-round submission. It's a little bit of a risky pick because Cowboy Oliveira is extremely athletic and explosive, but I think that while they're still dry in that first round and Gunnar Nelson can grip him better, I don't think that that amount of explosion and athleticism can overcome the technique of Gunnar Nelson. Because at the end of the day, it's not like Gunnar Nelson has the strength of a 2-year-old and Alex Oliveira is Alex Oliveira. I mean, Gunnar Nelson is also a grown man who's a professional athlete who weighs 170 pounds. They're both strong men, but Cowboy is freakishly strong and has really long arms that give him great leverage, but those same long arms can also give your opponent leverage to submit you. So let's see what happens there, but I'm taking Gunnar Nelson by first round submission. What are the odds? All right, the odds are, well, I don't know about first round submission, but the odds on the fight is Gunnar Nelson is a favorite, as low as minus 149, as high as minus 149. He is the favorite to get it done against Alex Oliveira. And Alex Oliveira, you can get him as high as plus 121. All right, so let's move on to the next fight. We've got, in my opinion, the fight that I'm least excited about on the main card, but still should be fun. We've got Jimmy Manuwa taking on Thiago Marreta Santos. And this is a light heavyweight fight. So Thiago was a long-time middleweight, but he's come up. I guarantee you it's a light heavyweight fight because Jimmy Manuwa is way too big to ever make 185 pounds. So this is definitely a light heavyweight fight. This is a little bit of a tough one to call. Thiago Santos is wild, and he leaves himself open. And Jimmy Manuwa has real power. Real light heavyweight power. That could potentially be big problems for Thiago Santos, but I like Thiago Santos down the stretch. I'll tell you what. I'm about to let y'all in on a little bit of a secret, okay? I, generally speaking, before I come on this podcast, I look down the list of fights, and I've got a decent idea of what I'm going to pick. Now, I don't look at the odds or anything, but I get a decent idea of what my pick's going to be. And my initial thought, as of probably at this point 30 minutes ago, was that Thiago Santos, I would pick him by TKO KO in the third round. But I'm actually switching my pick on the spot. Not that I've already made my pick, but we're changing this up, okay? We're about to take Jimmy Manuwa to win in the first round, okay? By KO. And here's why I changed this up, and here's why I'm thinking this. Thiago Santos gets hurt at light heavy or at middleweight, and I feel like Jimmy Manuwa has too much power. And that's what the left hook of Manuwa and how open and wild Santos is. And Jimmy Manuwa gets hurt a lot by light heavyweights, but Thiago Santos is definitely not going to be the biggest puncher he's faced. I mean, he's fought Rumble Johnson, for God's sakes. So I'm taking Manuwa by first round KO. Do I feel good about it? Not really. But would I feel good about picking Thiago Santos? No, not really. Do I feel good about picking light heavyweight or heavyweight fights in general? No, not really. And in general, do I like having to make picks that involve anything to do with Thiago Santos or someone as chinny as Jimmy Manuwa? No, not really. Really don't like it, but you got to make picks. If you want to do a podcast, you got to make picks. So that's my pick. All right, let's look at the odds. Jimmy Manuwa is an underdog. As high as plus 169, and Thiago Santos is the favorite as high as minus 175. So, wow. Okay. So Thiago Santos is a pretty big favorite. That pick might come back to bite me in the butt. Maybe I should have kept my pick, but whatever. All right, moving on to the next one. This is where it gets real. This is where it gets good, folks. In the first of our two title fights, we have Joanna Jędrzejczyk moving up from strawweight to women's flyweight to take on Valentina Shevchenko for the vacant women's 125-pound title. Thank the Lord that, I've already forgotten her name, but Montano, thank God she's out of the picture, man. This is going to be such a good fight. That was such a bunch of nonsense. If they had let her keep the belt and delay this division for another 6 months, I would have been so mad. So thank God they stripped her. I highly doubt she'll work her way back up to a title shot. And I'm not trying to be disparaging, but just she's not anywhere on the level of the highest level in that division. She's just not close. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Valentina Shevchenko have fought 3 times in Muay Thai. And Valentina Shevchenko has won all 3 of them. A lot of people don't know that. I also think that, so to me, I think Valentina has an advantage on the feet, but I think she has an even bigger advantage on the ground. I like Valentina to win this fight. Pretty plain and simple. I love Joanna. I do. But where's she winning this fight? I don't see it. I don't see where she wins this fight. And I would love if somebody does see where she wins this fight, and I know I'm not talking to a large crowd here, but if somebody does see where she wins this fight, please put it in the comments. You can write, I will read, if you write a novel, if you write 50 pages in those comments, I'll read every last sentence about how Joanna Jędrzejczyk can win this fight. And you might even change my mind. But right now, I don't see any way she wins this fight. She's not a knockout artist. She's not a submission threat at all to Valentina. I don't think she's a knockout threat at all to Valentina. I think Valentina could take her best shot right on the chin and be perfectly fine. Valentina Shevchenko's taking big shots from Holly Holm and really big shots from Amanda Nunes, and she's fine. So I've got Valentina winning this by unanimous decision, and I think it's going to be easy. I think she's just going to run away with this one. I don't think it'll be super entertaining. I'll love it. I love her technique, but I've got her running away with this one. I can't see it any other way. And if the odds don't reflect that, then I might be making a gamble. I might actually be putting some money on this fight if the odds don't reflect that. We're about to look at them for the first time now. Let's go. Valentina Shevchenko, big favorite. Big favorite. Lowest you can get her is minus 300. Wow. And you can get Joanna as high as plus 284. I mean, I'd make the odds even wider. Heck, honestly, minus 300, that's almost worth putting a couple $100 on Valentina. She's going to win the fight. I don't see any way she doesn't. I don't know, but I can't wait for that fight. It's going to be great. All right, so I've got Valentina by unanimous decision, and so do the for that women's flyweight title fight, and so do the odds pickers. All right, so we're moving on to the final fight now. We've got Max Holloway taking on Brian Ortega. Max Blessed Holloway versus Brian T-City Ortega for the men's featherweight title. Man, this is going to be such a good fight. This is your closer, as it should be, on the pay-per-view. I'm so amped for this fight. With that being said, how are you supposed to pick a winner in a fight when the two participants are a challenger who has lost every round he's ever been in, but somehow won by finish at the end of all his fights that he's losing, or the guy who his past 2 times he's tried to fight, he got stopped from cutting weight by the commission for the weight class 10 pounds heavier than the weight class he's going to try and make this time. And then when he came to try and defend his actual belt at the 145-pound limit against Brian Ortega earlier this year at International Fight Week, UFC 126, what happened there? He had these crazy symptoms of concussion or being delirious, and they never got to the bottom of it. If they did, they didn't tell us. I don't know what happened. I still don't know what was wrong with him. How are we supposed to pick this fight? And that's what I'm struggling with right now. I don't know how I can pick a winner and a loser when those are the two participants. I almost am tempted to pick. So for the main events, I never do what I was talking about a minute ago, where I kind of have an idea of who I'm going to pick. I have no idea who I'm going to pick when I start talking about the main event. I don't even give it any thought until I come on the air because I don't want to be at all rehearsed or anything in my head. It's almost tempting to pick Brian. If you'd asked me, okay, back for UFC 126, I picked Max Holloway with no hesitation. Brian Ortega is kind of looking like he might be the smart pick now because at least we know he's healthy. At least we know he's physically well. We don't know that about Max Holloway. Now, with that being said, they're not going to let him fight this weekend if he's not fit to fight. And if that fight gets canceled, this card takes a huge hit. It's really hard to get Jazz to spend $70 on a fight where I know what's going to happen. So if this fight gets canceled, I guess Brian Ortega will supposedly be fighting Renato Moicano or something like that for the belt, which, okay, wouldn't be that excited about that, to be honest. And then, Joanna versus Valentina, I already told you who's going to win that fight, and I've got no doubt about that in my mind. So, hopefully this fight goes through. I'm really nervous about Holloway's health. I don't really understand how he makes 145 pounds. He's way too big to be at this weight class. All the trouble that he's been coming off of. I'm just really not sure where to go with this pick. And I feel like, to be honest with you, it's a waste of time for me to talk about any of the technical stuff. What does it matter how their striking matches up if we don't even know? For all we know, Max Holloway could get knocked out by a jab because he's cutting way too much weight and has been having all these problems. We don't know where he's at. So I feel like making a pick is just kind of risky. With that being said, got to make a pick. I'm going to take... I don't love this pick, I don't love it, but I'm gonna pick Max Holloway. I'm gonna take him, and right now I'm hovering between a unanimous decision or a very late stoppage. I don't think that Brian, and this is all assuming that Max is healthy. If Max is healthy, I will be coming back on the air to change my pick if Max Holloway looks terrible in all of his interviews. But as of right now, I'm going to take Max. I think Ortega's tough as hell. He's got a great chin, and you got to be careful getting overly aggressive against him because he's such a dangerous grappler. So I don't think Holloway would be able to pour it on the ground if he hurt him like he did to Aldo. So I'm going to take Max by unanimous decision because I think that after all this time out, as much as Max is an exciting fighter, I think that he's going to come back looking for not a safe win in the sense that he's not going to fight. He's going to come to fight. But I think he's going to be coming to look for a smart victory where he can keep his belt. And then, because what I think he wants to do is he wants to keep his belt and then he wants to move up. He doesn't want to move up because somebody made him or because he lost his belt and then had to move up. He wants to get one more fight in, and then I bet he wants to move up because this weight cut can't be going good for him. I mean, it's ridiculous how big he is. He's way too big for that weight class. So yeah, I'm taking him by unanimous decision, and we'll just have to see how that plays out. Let's look at the odds for that fight before we close the show. Max Holloway's the favorite as high as -122. That's the best odds for him. And T-City, Brian Ortega, plus 108 would be the best you can get him at. And those odds are actually both off of sportbet.com. So, that's pretty much a pick'em fight. I won't be surprised. I think the odds will swing in the favor of Brian Ortega if Max Holloway looks unhealthy this week, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Thank y'all for joining me. I really enjoyed this. I'm actually going to end this. So we're done with the UFC 231 stuff. As I'm getting off here, I just want to say, I know I said this at the start, the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder title fight last night was one of the most incredible sporting experiences I have ever witnessed, ever not been a part of. I mean, everyone who watched is a part of it. It's the way I look at it. So yes, I was a part of that. I was watching it live and having very authentic reactions. I woke my wife up screaming my head off when Fury got knocked down and then rose from the dead. I think people need to understand when a combat athlete participates in an event like that and goes through 12 rounds like that, they're a different person afterwards. You don't really fully get that back. You leave a little bit of yourself in there, and I think that we really need to appreciate that and appreciate these special moments in combat sports history because without that appreciation, these guys and women are just damaging their bodies and their brains for nothing, without that appreciation. I think we need to be able to recognize when we've seen something truly special. And last night was truly special. So yeah, I'm going to go from there. All right, y'all take care.